Oh my God, what a week. What a week, dude. I need to get this like certifications done in order to be Apple's making some changes to the program and I got to get these certifications done. And it's so funny that I'm in this class last week or whatever, and it's a 200 level Jamf class. Like it shouldn't be that hard. And there are people in there that are just like coming in completely blind. Now it's a 200 level class, which means you had to have taken 100, which wasn't a class, it was online training. And everything is documented and all this stuff. But like the people that were in the class, and I'm not trying to shit on anyone, but like there were people in the class that like did not even understand any of the core concepts of MDM. And I was just like baffled. And then it came time for the test. And like day one, the trainer was like, please have these 8 things downloaded on your computer. You need them for the week and you need them for the test. And it was like right before the test. And someone on the call was like, where do I get those 8 things? It's like, were you not paying attention? What are you even doing all week? Like, why
sounds like a client.
Why are you here? I'm here because I have to be here. I'm here because I have to be here. But yeah, it was a very tiring week, and it was all over Zoom too. I really prefer classes in person.
But there's a difference between have to and are interested in the information and have to and don't give a shit.
The funny thing is I'm in the latter.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. Been an ear.
Level up your email domain security and deliverability. Reduce business email compromise and reel in that pesky email phishing. Make DMARC a new revenue stream for your MSP. Becoming a managed service provider partner with Easy DMARC is a great opportunity for your business to boost sales and decrease risk. Your customers need DMARC. Your job is to let them know that their email domain might be at risk. Find out more today at atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. That's atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. Operating an MSP sucks. Gozinta is here to make it suck less. With their consulting services, they are your trusted advisors through every step of your MSP's journey, from startup to exit. And their software is crafted with care to ensure that they're solving problems for you and not creating new headaches. Find out more at atmsp.link/Gozinta. That's atmsp.link/Gozinta.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to All Things MSP Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar, and with me is IKEA Box Scruff Vig. Open box, lose instructions, grow beard while figuring it out. Realize one piece is missing from another beard entirely.
My beard did not come from IKEA.
Mr. Eric Anthony. It's an IKEA beard. I wanted to do an IKEA thing today because a lot of IKEA things come with glass, and I want to talk about single pane of glass versus best of breed.
I see what you did there, and
I made it work. Yeah.
It's relevant also that we are recording this on International Cat Day, and I'm going to talk about best of breed.
Everyone, I don't know if you noticed that silence right there. That's everyone turning us off and switching to a better MSP podcast. Shout out to our friend Damien.
Well, except we did have that person who said we were the best MSP podcast ever.
Yeah, that person must have been. I don't know who you were. If you want to tell us who you were, you left a comment on our YouTube.com/@ All Things MSP. Number 1, thank you. Number 2, let us know who you are. Eric will send you a little thing.
I think I might be able to figure it out, actually. I have to go look.
I'm sure it's on the interweb somewhere. Anyway, yeah, that's our topic today, guys. Thanks for listening. No, just kidding. Yeah, we're going to talk best of breed versus single pane of glass. We're going to do this almost like a boxing match style. Eric is taking the side of best of breed. I'm taking single pane of glass. And there were reasons we decided to go with this, right? The main reason being that as I still have my MSP and Eric is now graduated past that, like hopefully many of us want to one day.
I don't know if you'd call it a graduation or not.
I'm still looking. I tend to, and we've talked about single pane of glass on our like buzzwords episode, but like I still kind of like the concept of a single pane of glass because it makes it a lot easier, especially when you have staff and remote staff and things like that. But I can also understand why it is a actually horrible thing, and it sometimes that it doesn't work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always, when I had my MSP, I kind of believed in single pane of glass, right? Because like a lot of MSPs, I had a smaller shop. At the most we ever had, I think 5 employees total. And single pane of glass just worked for the simplicity of the services that we were delivering back then.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is this big division between, I want to run an MSP that just does good work and helps small to medium-sized businesses work efficiently and be protected and all of that. And I think at that level, a single pane of glass probably works. But there's also these MSPs, especially ones that niche down into very specific industries, that almost have to do best of breed in order to deal with the specific situations that they're having to deal with. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, I get where you're going with it. I think also we tend to generalize very easily the what is in that single pane of glass, because like for me, when I hear single pane of glass, I think about it as I want my employees to have that single pane of glass to be able to be as productive as possible.
Right?
But just a single pane of glass as opposed to multiple panes of glass. Like maybe I have a second pane of glass that's only for all my monitoring tools, right? Or I have a pane of glass that's only for, I don't know, alerting from whatever. There's like this concept, like you want everything in one place. I don't know if it's necessarily even a single pane. Like to say that like our PSA, which we try to integrate in with so much stuff, is a single pane of glass. I kind of feel like it's an old metaphor, because really it's the end of a funnel, right? Where
Fair.
we're funneling all of this data into our ticketing system, right? If an alert pops up on a Ubiquity network, it goes into our ticketing system. If a onboarding comes in, it alerts our ticketing system. Like it's a funnel as opposed to a single pane of glass. So I do sometimes, when we talk about SPOG, which is what I'll call it from this point forward. SPOG. It's what's included in that, right? And so instead of going like single pane of glass, I've even gone down the route with our team to say like we have a single tool, and then we have we talked about this before, like our secondary tools, right? And we don't allow ourselves to go to tertiary tools. The secondary tools are the ones that do not talk to the primary tool. So the goal is, if it can talk to the primary tool, single pane of glass, then it should. And I think there's also the problem there, which is against your argument, which is like, there are probably better tools out there that would help me do my job, but they don't integrate with my PSA, therefore I won't use them.
Right. And there are real reasons for that, right? There are huge efficiency pickups when you have single pane of glass. Now, I think this is a true example of there is no one size fits all in this industry. And I'm going to tell my favorite story about how this happens in this industry. A lot of you have been in this long enough to be familiar with a company called Enable. Used to be a bunch of different companies, but primarily I'm going to talk about what used to be GFI MAX / LogicNow, and the old instance of Enable before they got bought by SolarWinds. Okay. Obviously, those two companies had 2 RMM tools. Mm-hmm. So when LogicNow was purchased by SolarWinds, there was a huge discussion. I mean, we're talking about months of discussion about why should we keep 2 RMM tools? Well, because they work very differently, right? With Enable RMM, you can do a lot of customization. You can go very deep into the customization of what you can do to monitor a client's environment, right? Where what is now called Enable Insight is much easier to use. The interface is a lot easier to get around in, a lot easier for especially lower level techs to understand and use. and it's a lot quicker because it's just a lot easier, but you can't do as much with it, right?
Right.
It does most things, but you have to do it the way it does it rather than be able to customize it like Enable RMM. And I think this best of breed versus single pane of glass conversation is very similar in that best of breed works for some people, doesn't work for others. Single pane of glass works better for some people and not others. Because of the requirements, I would say basically considering the type of clients that they have, right? I think that's probably what it comes down to, or the level of service that they want to provide.
You're not wrong in any way, shape, or form. Because like when we switched from Zendesk to Halo, we had an opportunity to look at all of the PSAs that were out there. And at the time, it was Halo and it was Synchro. And a lot of people were using like ConnectWise and Autotask, right? And there's a lot of people who are like, ConnectWise is the way to go, especially if you're a PC MSP. But the problem was that we needed one that integrated with Adigy, right? Which limited us to Halo and Synchro. And once we had that hard limit, we then had to look at all the things we were losing to have this PSA be. And now, because we forced ourselves to be with Halo, we need Halo to be that single pane of glass. So now we're writing all this code and building all these third-party pieces and getting involved with things like Roost and API calls and all this other crap to make Halo do things that Halo doesn't do natively. A great example of this one, Watchman Monitoring, which eventually got bought by Synchro, hilariously, was this great little tool built by Alan Hancock. And it would report back, and there was a Zendesk plugin that told us where stuff was. And then all of a sudden we switched ticketing systems, and then we lost that thing. That Watchman Monitoring is best of breed for what it does, 100%. But then we were like, how do we make it work? Well, we had to write code to make it work with Halo because there's no native thing. So
yeah,
we like screwed ourselves a little bit and then undid that the hard way in order to keep our level 1 techs in Halo, because again, we're trying to make that the end of the funnel or the single pane of glass. Alternatively, we have Uptime Kuma running, checks the uptime on all of our stuff. We used to have Uptime Kuma tell us in Slack and send an alert to Halo. And the problem is that the messaging from Uptime Kuma was so bad. It's so bad. It's like, instead of just saying like client down, it gives you like 6 lines every time. And if someone's going up and down fast, it will like hammer your Slack and it will hammer your ticketing system with just a lot of content that you don't need.
Yeah.
We just disabled it from sending anything to the ticketing system. And I know you're like probably like screaming your head off. We put a monitor on our computer and have a big screen in the office that just has that page. That's a single pane of glass to a single tool because we can't make it work any better. Right? So now we have multiple panes of glass. And like I said in the buzzword episode, we built a greenhouse.
Yeah. I mean, not to diverge from the topic, but the way I solved that problem, because that was a huge problem for me. My MSP was in Orlando, Florida, lightning capital of the world. And so we had things going up and down all the time because, constant power outages, glitches, and internet outages due to the lightning, the rain, whatever. Mm-hmm. I basically built automation into Autotask because that's what the PSA we were using at the time, to basically not notify of the opening of that ticket for like 5 minutes. So right. That it actually had to be down for 5 minutes before the notification was sent. And most of the time, if it was just temporary, the ticket would auto close because it would detect that it was back up again.
Yeah. But I mean, there's pros and cons on both sides, right? I use LionGuard. Okay, here's another example. I use LionGuard to do monitoring. Now, I have spoken to LionGuard about their Mac agent, and they're plenty aware of where I stand on this. But again, LionGuard integrates with Adigy, and so I don't care about their Mac agent. But I got a lot of other friends that are in the Apple world that are like, I would never touch LionGuard. It doesn't give me the data I want to get from it into whatever because it doesn't have like a Mac agent. All right. LionGuard is a great tool, but again, has its own alerting system. So we had to actually, and I found out that there's a nice little integration with Halo, so it saved my butt. But there's not an integration with Synchro as far as I remember. So like how we went with Synchro in the beginning, we would have been screwed on the LionGuard thing. Like it's very much a balancing act of picking the right tool. Because I'm sure that anyone who's listening right now is like, why would you use LionGuard? There's way better tools out there. Or like, why do you use Uptime Kuma? There's way better tools out there. Yeah, there probably are, but they don't integrate or don't really integrate with the stuff I'm using. And again, to make my level 1 techs as efficient as possible, because in my game it's efficiency, I want it all in Halo. If it can't come into Halo, it's in my mind, it's like I got blinders on. I'm like a horse with blinders. The second I find out the thing doesn't integrate with Halo like natively anymore, I'm like, I don't care about it. No matter, I don't care if it's the world's greatest thing for MSPs. I just don't care.
Well, because the amount of time that it saves you, which equates to money that it makes you on the back end, right, is a big difference. And
100%.
It's interesting because we've had a lot of conversation in the group lately about what kind of tools would you use, and great conversations, but there is no one size fits all. You have to look at your business and decide what kind of stack, best of breed or single pane of glass, is going to work better for the type of business I'm delivering. And that is very specific to the type of MSP, the size of the MSP, the size of the clients that the MSP takes on. And so I'd love to get your opinion on kind of based on client size or MSP size, what do you think fits best for single pane of glass or best of breed?
I think for me, it really always comes down to what does the client need, right? And while you were talking, like the one thing that came to my mind would be Avanan, which is now Checkpoint, versus Barracuda for email protection, right? There's an argument to be said for both of them, and they both do things very well. But I don't need Barracuda level protection when I can use Avanan for my customers. There are MSPs out there that have compliancy requirements and things like that need that Barracuda level. And the question comes down to is like, well, if Barracuda doesn't integrate with your PSA or doesn't alert you the way you want to do, tough noogies, because it's what the client needs, not what you need, right? I think to your point of like the size of the MSP matters and the clients of the MSP matters and the size of those clients, right? None of my clients are more than 50 people. I think I have 2 clients that have any sort of like real compliancy requirements, and they're light at most. But if I were to pick up a customer, that's 200, 300 people deep and needs HIPAA requirements, like we're going to have to follow the suit of what HIPAA requirements calls for. And I don't know if Avanan or not is HIPAA covered or not. So let's just play that it isn't, but Barracuda is. I obviously can't give that client Avanan, even though I've done that for all my other clients. So I think the thing with the single pane of glass versus best of breed is if you want single pane of glass, that's fine. You're not going to get 100%. Because if you do get to 100%, you're not doing the right thing for your customers. I think at some point, you're going to end up with these one-offs that are all over the place that don't integrate with your normal day-to-day. And you're going to have to find a way to manage those. And if you can't manage those, you're going to run into a problem. Because like if you put me in front of a Barracuda, I would have no idea what to do. I'm assuming it's going to eat my face.
Nasty teeth.
But like, I would have zero idea. But I have plenty of other consultant friends who like live and die by it.
Yeah. I think that there's a correlation between MSP size and client size / complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think as the MSP grows, or as the MSP goes after clients that are more upmarket, there's going to be a natural need to kind of lean towards best of breed because of the special needs of those clients.
I don't think that you have to choose one or the other. I think you can do both. I think if you are good at what you do, I'm trying to wrap it with a bow. If you're good at what you do, you can pick best of breed tools, but you have to be able to ensure that your team knows how to access and what to do with said tools. And you may use things like your PSA and build custom fields in your PSA to where you normally check a box that says this client is covered by Avanan. Instead of that being a checkbox, you can mark it as a dropdown with which email protection are they using, and it would say Avanan, and then it says Barracuda, please ask the CEO. Like things to help guide your team to use those offshoot tools when they do come up, by giving the team that does have the single pane of glass the ability to know when to go and look elsewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Keeping it simple for the front line,
right,
while giving you and the clients the opportunity to go deeper and do something more customized when a different tool is required. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that at the end of the day, you're right. This is not an either or; it's a spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you kind of just find your place on that spectrum based on the service delivery that you want to have and the type of clients that you want. And that's where the strategic part comes in, right? You actually have to look at, what do I want to do as an MSP and what kind of clients do I want to use it for? And that's going to define what your stack looks like.
100%. 100%. Can't agree more. Well, check us out, like getting to the end of a podcast and like liking one another. It's amazing how that happens. Like us over at facebook.com/group/allthingsmsp. Follow us on youtube.com/allthingsmsp. Leave comments and Eric will send you stuff. Follow us on all your favorite podcasting tools. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. You know what to do. Any last words before I go?
Yeah. What exactly am I sending them and whose budget am I using?
I don't know. You got stickers.
I do have stickers. If you want a sticker, let me know. I'll send you a sticker.
And send a self-addressed stamp envelope to Eric Anthony at. I'm just kidding. He'll front the stamp. It'll be fine. Well, for all of us, that's Eric. I'm Justin. Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching the All Things MSP podcast. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and consider subscribing to catch all our weekly episodes. And from your host extraordinaire, Justin Esgar, and myself, Eric Anthony, your humble producer and All Things MSP founder, thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you are not aware, All Things MSP started as a Facebook group and now supports over 6,000 members. We also have a LinkedIn page for those of you who don't do Facebook, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel for even more content. And a big thank you to our premier sponsors, EasyDmark, Helped, Goes Into, MoveBot, and Nodeware. And thank you to the rest of our sponsors. Without sponsors, we could not do what we do for the MSP community. Please consider checking them out. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of any employer, vendor, sponsor, or random taxi driver in the Metro DC area. Be sure to join us next week for another exciting episode.